For as long as time, there has been the unexplained, the strange, the scary, the paranormal. And for as long as time, there have been those of us uniquely in tune with the spirits and strangeness that surround us. The paranormal does not belong to any one path or religion, because it has always just been. Ghosts, spirits, entities, demons, and things that go bump in the night, the stuff of nightmares and of stories. We always fear what we don't understand, but knowledge is power. So join me for a pagan's paranormal perspective. Come learn about spirits and demons and entities and more. Come explore the darker side of the paranormal. Arm yourself with knowledge. Understand that in darkness there is light, and in light there is darkness. One would not exist without the other. My goal is to make you think deeper, question what you think you know, and hopefully leave with an open mind. So join me on P3, Pagan's Paranormal Perspective, if you dare. Good evening, and thank you for joining me. This is Onyx Moon, and you are listening to P3, a Pagan's Paranormal Perspective, here on PBN Radio. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat room tonight, and I'm glad I have sound this week. We tried this show last week, and I didn't get it going, so tonight I think we're going to have fun. I'm here to talk about ghost animals. Now, I know it sounds a little fantasy-like, but there's plenty of research and evidence that shows and lets me know for sure, even though I believe it anyway, that animals can be in ghost and spirit form. During paranormal investigations, it's not unusual to run across ghost animals of sorts. But you know, how much more frequent does it happen? Ghost. I'm sorry, I just totally lost my head here for a minute. When you're doing paranormal investigations, you're not really looking for the pets at that point. You're not looking for the ghost animals. Sometimes some come through, that kind of thing. But it really mostly seems that it's mostly mammals that have been seen or felt and heard. I kind of think that's good news, because I wouldn't want the bugs that I, end or pass over or send to the other side. I don't want them coming back. I cannot fathom the creepiness of having, that spider that I killed that time or whatever coming back in ghost form. I think that would be a little messy, because I think there'd be a lot more, freaking out people, because I know I would. But that's good news. I've seen it referenced that they think that it's the intelligent species that are the ones that come back. Mammals, that kind of thing. Stories, dogs, cats, and even horses is a lot of the stories that we see when it comes to people relating responses about ghost animals. But I kind of think that even bugs are intelligent. Look at the things they do. Within their group, bees are intelligent, and spiders are intelligent, and ants. Look at the colonies they build. So, it may not be an intelligent like a human intelligence, and we frequently put human emotions onto our pets and animals because most of us kind of get that they're much more than animals. So I wouldn't really classify it as just the intelligent animals that come back, but I really think it has more to do with love, at least in phantom pet returns kind of thing. I've always kind of had a knowing and the fact that animals have souls of some type. I cannot believe that if we move on, that those beings that are animals don't do the same thing. Do they reincarnate like I believe we do? I don't know. We know that some of the other cultures actually believe that humans can be reincarnated into animal, I can't even think of the word, but East Indian kind of thing. I know that they think, oh, you've been bad, you're going to come back as a as a bug. I don't really go there, but I do believe that animals have spirits. And funny enough, that seems to have gotten me into a little bit of trouble growing up. And so I'm going to tell you this story, and it was kind of funny. Um, Once upon a time, I was actually in parochial school. It was a Catholic high school, and we had theology class. And we had this one little priest that did our theology class. Um, I'm not going to say his name, and to be quite honest, I think I've almost forgotten what his name was. But he was an odd little duck to begin with. But one day he came into theology class quite upset. I mean, fuming. And we all knew it was going to be one of those days. And, after, he called his attendance and whatever, he decided to tell us why he was so incensed that day. And that day, he was extremely annoyed because he had been behind a car that had a bumper sticker on it that I believe said, "I brake for squirrels." Okay, so we're waiting for the punchline. And so he starts going on this rant about how dare that person have so little value on human life that they would put on their brakes for an animal that we all know don't have souls and don't have spirits, and people do. And I mean, he went on and on. He was very upset. Um, and I don't know, it just kind of hit me wrong. And I've never been one to hold my tongue. I come by it honestly. Because I love to debate. I love the thing of debating, and I still do. I think people learn more if you can debate respectfully. I don't know how much respect I was doing back then, but, I've learned a little bit. Anyway, so, um, of course, I was extremely upset that he claimed to know that animals didn't have souls. So, of course, I raised my hand. And the whole class went, oh no. So they all shut their books and sat there and folded their arms because they knew there was going to be no class that day. Because me and this little priest were going to go at it for an hour, and we did. And, I argued theology back and forth with him about animals, and I threw every instance in the Bible at him. I was really good at that in those days, and I actually still am. Because I do have studied many religions, and I am an interfaith, actually ordained minister, so it behooves me to understand a variety of paths. So, I find that this does not just relate to a pagan path, but I happen to be pagan, so that is my path right now. But at any rate, by the end of the argument with this little priest, I mean, and the man was wringing his hands and pulling his hair out because every point he had, I had another one. And by the end of the class, he had to stand there and admit that he did not know if animals had spirits or not. And that's all I wanted. I just didn't want him to decide that he was, the Almighty at that point, and tell everybody that animals didn't have spirits, because he doesn't know that. How can he know that? And it was every little Bible verse. I know, it's kind of silly for this, but that just reinforces to me the belief that animals can come back. In the majority of ghost animal stories and recountings, and when people experience the beloved family pet visitations, it's usually really soon after the pet's the pet's passing, which really strikes home for me the belief that it's the love, and their love for us and our love for them, that enables their visits. I believe that, while that doesn't cover all the kinds of stories, but it's a start. Simply because I kind of believe that our love kind of ties them to this plane a little bit. And they love us, and there's scientific proof of that, and we've seen where, an animal, when it sees its human, releases the same endorphins as a human does when they're in love. So I mean, there is love there between you and your animal. Um, and a lot of people, they're their kids. It's not just their animal. It's not just a family pet. It's part of the family, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So, what are some of the signs of possibly a pet visit? Well, pets visit can include things like you feel them jump on the bed, like they used to in life, or on the couch, or on your chair. You get that feeling that they've just jumped up there, and there's obviously you're not seeing anything. Some people may, but for the most part, other things are, frequently, especially soon after a pet has crossed over, the toys are still there, the basket is still there. People don't always get rid of that stuff right away because they just can't. It's like, they have to, leave that stuff there in that corner for a while. So sometimes toys will move. Things will go rolling across the floor or just not be where they were. And those can be signs too. When there's no, there's no open window, there's no other animal in the house, there's no kid in the house, there's no logical explanation for why these things have moved. And sometimes people get lucky and have actual, like, visual manifestations, and noises like their collar jingling or their little nails click, click, clicking across the top. And they're not still there, but they think they are, or they've come back to tell you goodbye or visit them because, like I said, I believe they have a knowing. So, as much as we don't want to talk about the loss of a pet, because it is devastating, for some people more than others, it is devastating. But if you start noticing little things, pay attention to it. Pay attention to the times and even the places of what's going on. Was it normally the feeding time at that time, or is it something happening, walk time or going outside time? Um, what is it? Did you see a toy someplace where it shouldn't be? That would be normally a time that you would either come home from work and play with your pet or whatever. So pay attention to the times that you may see these things. Take pictures if you can. You never know. You might get, I've seen some pictures where they could be photoshopped. I don't know. I'm not an expert on pictures that I see on the internet. I've seen some that I think are real, that have some sort of image or something that is very pet-like. So you just don't poo-poo everything, is what I'm saying. Take pictures. You never know. Another trigger that I've seen from research shows, if a pet was extremely attached to to their human or to a kid or to whatever, if that person suddenly is ill, or if something has happened and they're, you know, not doing well, frequently those animals will kind of, come back for their owner. I mean, what a better way, and I hate to say if somebody's dying especially, but what better way to have a companion to go with you as you cross? I would think that an animal, probably along with a person or an angel or whatever you think comes for you, because I never believe that anybody dies alone. That's something I will say. I don't believe anybody ever dies alone. I don't care where they are or what the circumstance is. And it would be, how comforting, how cool would that be to have an animal come back for you at your time of greatest need? I think that would be like, the most comforting thing ever. Um, I just think it's phenomenal. And uh, a lot of the other kind of ghost stories, and there's some famous ones, because based on the kinds of animals, like the horses and stuff, a lot of the animal stories show us the animal is still following a routine. Um, it's taking on the same roles that they did in life. So, and some can certainly be like a residual haunting, where like it's an energy imprint, whatever they calling this thing now. I know that there's some new fancy dancy word, but I always called it a residual, like the VCR thing. So sometimes it could be just the residual energy doing those things, but some are much more interactive. So, the research would be, for me, would be, is it interactive or is it residual? Excuse me. For example, it's not unusual to see a ghost horse and its rider on the fields of Gettysburg. They both look real. People think they're real. People think it's part of a reenactment because they do a lot of that stuff there. And then all of a sudden they just disappear. People see it. Um, People see them disappear and think it was a real person. And then there's a story about the Old Pony Express station in Kansas. I can't remember exactly where, but there's an Old Pony Express station that they still, at certain times of the day, can hear horses galloping by. Now, there's no horses on those streets anymore. It's not like it's actually still being used, but then they're galloping by. I have a question in chat. Dina, yes, there are residual and then there are intelligent haunts. Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. The more interactive, I would call intelligent. In discussing, animal ghost, yes. Um, like that. There's another residual, or at least what I think is a residual. There's a story about a cliff in Texas where a stampede went over a ledge, and they say you can still hear the sounds of the stampede at certain times um, going on from that. And those I would think would be more residual. But there's lots of stuff that were intelligent haunts or things that really can't be explained. And I've pulled a few because I think it's really interesting. Um, let's see. There was a story about, and this one would be an intelligent haunt to me. It would not be residual because we know that dogs have been known to watch over people. Um, a lot of animals are protective of their owner and that kind of thing. And there's been plenty of stories where animals kind of have still protected people after death and growl and things like that if somebody comes too near. And there was one account is a bull terrier named Sadie, who is a Union Army mascot at Gettysburg. And many believe they still hear her growl as she keeps watch over fallen soldiers. So some may say that that's residual, and some may say that was intelligent. And like I said, because sometimes animals are still doing what they were doing in life. And they kind of get stuck in that loop too. So, there's no saying that, that couldn't be still an intelligent thing. Um, let's see, the United States Capitol building is haunted by the ghost of a cat. Okay, it says, it has been described as having glowing eyes and emerges out of the shadows to unsuspecting people. Legend has it that the ghost cat appears before major national disasters. The cat's name is DC and was seen before the stock market crash of 1929 and again right before the assassination of President Kennedy in 1963. There's probably more, but I've got to give you just a little food for thought so you guys can go out and research some of this too. And then there's a lot of stories about how departed pets visit the people they were close to in life. And there's a book written, Ghost Cats, Human Encounters with Feline Spirits by Dusty Rainbolt. She wrote about her cat, passed on, but she felt it kept jumping on the bed and walking across the blankets and that was kind of thing. She said it wasn't a bad thing. It startled her at first, but she said she was away from home when the cat died and she thought it came back to say goodbye. And that's really cool. But like I said, because I believe that, the pet type hauntings are really, about love. But like with regular ghosts and spirits, not all humans are friendly before or after death, and not all animals are friendly before and after death. There was a house in Fells Point, Maryland, and they have some ghosts, and one of them is an angry cat. The story goes that a large cat belonged to a woman who was abused by her drunken husband. The man resented the cat and eventually killed it and walled it up in the cellar. Years later, the house was remodeled and the wall removed, revealing a feline skeleton. And this explains the mysterious gray cat that appears in many rooms over the house, and it also explains its bad temper. It says guests have attempted to pet the creature, thinking it to be a live cat, but it hisses and runs away. And it says it's also been reported to run between the legs of people it doesn't like, knocking them off balance. So to me, that still sounds like an angry spirit kind of thing. And an animal, a cat, can be just as angry as a human, I think. At least that's my opinion. Anyway, we are at time for our first commercial break. So we will take a break for just a minute, and then I will be absolutely back, and we've got a lot more to go over. So I'll be back in just a minute, folks.
The Magic Jukebox Podcast presents Caldera Fest Pagan Music Festival, May 26th through May 30th in Lafayette, Georgia. This event will feature the best in pagan music and over 100 vendors and workshops, featuring Tuatha Day, Dave the Bard, S.J. Tucker, Wendy Rule, Digis Christ Superdrum, Dragon Ritual Drummers, and many more. Also featuring the official release of the Green Album. This eclectic compilation of thoughts and sounds will feature various acts performing at Caldera Fest, benefiting the Rainforest Trust. Come on out and have the time of your life. Caldera Fest Pagan Music Festival, May 26th through 30th at Cherokee Farms in Lafayette, Georgia. For more information, visit calderafest.com today. See you there.
Are you looking for something special? For something more than mass-produced and ineffective magical wares? Then let me tell you about Beau Magique, with their wonderfully unique magical wares carefully handcrafted in small batches. From her charged waters using artisan well water gathered under the full moon, to their authentically crafted conjure and anointing oils, powders, and more, all handcrafted by Reverend Terry Brookins, using old and new recipes and super secret sources to be able to share her own brand of magic with everyone. Visit beaumagique.com. That's BEAUXMAGIQUE.com. Visit today. This is what you've been looking for. All right, welcome back to P3. This is your host, Onyx Moon, and we are talking tonight about ghost animals and talking about different kinds of hauntings and that kind of thing. And like I was saying, some phantom animals or ghost animals, they still feel like they've got a job or a duty they continue to do. A church in Australia has a cemetery guarded by a phantom dog of enormous size. The story goes that a priest owned a St. Bernard, and when his beloved pet died, he buried it in the church graveyard. The ghost dog patrols the sacred grounds and has been reported to chase people out of the cemetery. So that's kind of cool for me. I think that would be the definite intelligent haunt as opposed to a residual there. And let's see, the Martha Washington Inn in Virginia has a ghost horse which roams the grounds and startles guests on occasion. Legend has it that the horse is still waiting for its rider, a Union soldier who was shot in front of the building in 1864. But, what if the pet owner is a ghost too? Not just the pet. There's a hotel in Prescott, Arizona, and it's long been considered haunted, with a number of sightings of ghosts in and around the building. Among the regulars, is Abby. And Abby owned the hotel before falling on hard times, and keeping her company is her cat Noble. And the pair have been spotted in and around certain rooms by guests and staff for decades. And it's actually become a tradition of the guests to bring gifts for Abby and Noble when staying in the hotel. And I guess they think that kind of helps, make them feel welcome and wanted. I think that's kind of cool. If you're going to be a ghost, why not have your cat with you, right? That would certainly make me a much happier ghost, I'm thinking. And maybe that's their thought, too. So what I'm going to do now is I've pulled some interesting stories of different ghostly encounters of animals. And there's a few that I really like, so I've kind of picked through. So I'm going to share some of these stories with you, and I'm hoping I've got the one that I really want on here. There's a story about a cat who continues to be amazing even after he's passed on. It says, uh, I'm not even going to try to say the name of the cat. Anyway, this was his best friend and been with him through thick and thin, and he still continues. The cat died very suddenly, and I was heartbroken. I still remember him and have a hard time eating and sleeping sometimes. Life hasn't been easy, but these are some of the things that he does. Um, it was difficult to get another cat after he passed, and they said we harbored no delusions of this cat being the same and purposely chose one that didn't look like him at all. It wouldn't have been right to hold on to another cat and try to compare the two because you can't do that. You can't replace one animal with another. There's a different love for each of them. It's like with your grandkids. Okay, so he led us to the perfect little kitten. I almost didn't want her, but suddenly I felt as if my cat wanted her to be with us. Um, Out of nowhere, the little kitten that he'd never seen before did something his cat always did, a little kiss first with her nose and then a lick. And it's easy to chalk that up to coincidence, but what followed wasn't. This story says, I was having an extremely difficult time with my job, questioning my career. Where should I be? Where should I go? When I came to the difficult conclusion to quit the job I was in, it was time to move on, but I still harbored some hesitation. I loved that job, for the most part of it. It was difficult to let go. But I laid down for a nap, and I felt something I felt for 7 years before he passed. His cat curled up beside him, nestled against his stomach. He said, I opened my eyes to greet him and pet him, but saw nothing except an imprint of a round furry body on the cushion next to me. It was peaceful, nothing like I felt before, so I closed my eyes and finished going to sleep. He said it was such a real and vivid experience that upon waking he expected him to be there. Obviously he wasn't, but a sense of rightness and peace was left. So he really took that as, kind of confirmation that he was doing the right thing. So that's pretty cool when, your pets come back to give you a little bit of um, unsolicited advice or family lovin's or whatever you want to call it. I think that one's really cool. Um, I'm hoping to find the one I actually really wanted to share. So sorry. And no, I don't want that one either. Anyway, okay, so I'll tell it because I don't remember where I put it. Yeah, sometimes my organizational skills are not the best. At any rate, um, there was a family that had a dog. I believe it was like a you know terrier of some sort. It was some little whatever it was. It was a cute little dog, and the dog was old and it had passed. And um, some weeks later, somebody was trying to rehome a puppy, and it happened to be the same kind of breed that these people had had. They were still not quite over losing their little beloved little thing, but they went ahead and took this one in that was still a puppy. Um, and over the first week or so, they kept noticing strange things. And they'd sit there and watch, and it was like their puppy was playing with something that wasn't there. Trying to give it toys, playing with the water bowl, barking, jumping around. Nothing like aggressively, but like fun, like a puppy will do to an older dog. And they sat there and they realized that the way this dog was behaving, they really believed that the ghost of their other dog was there playing with this puppy, kind of letting it feel like it was at home. And I think that's really cool, and I don't disbelieve that at all. Um, it's like, the changing of the guard, so to speak. And I believe truly that animals are sensitive to spirits, to ghosts, to entities, whatever you want to call that. So why wouldn't they be able to see one of their own? I think that's really cool. And it was such a happy story. And they said, and it only lasted for like a week. And then it went away. So it was really like their dog had come back for a visit and to give this little puppy some idea of what. of what it was like in the house, and that I thought that was really really cool. It was one of my favorite stories that I've read over the past week while I was researching this. Um, there was and there's some stuff about dogs, especially there's a lot of dog and cat ones because those are the primarily the ones that you get other than like the horses, but dogs and cats especially. And there was this one story here that a friend of a friend of somebody on here, okay, on one of these forums for these ghost pets, got an emergency call. The vet did, and this lady decided to go with it. Well, she couldn't bring her two dogs, so she locked them up in a gated, outside enclosure. And somehow or another, there was an accident on the way, and the woman had to, she had a flat tire. She heard hyenas, and she turned around and realized she saw her dog fighting off these hyenas. This was someplace in Australia, I believe it was. I can't remember exactly. But at any rate, her dog was there fighting with this hyena. And she had to run and get the rest of the way home to get, whatever it was. She realized that it couldn't have been her dog because she'd locked him up. She went and the gate was still closed. And the other dog was still in there, but the dog that she thought she saw was out, was gone. And one of the neighbors came over at that point when she got there, and she's frantically, looking for her dog that she thought ran back, and found that the dog had actually been killed by the neighbor by accident. He'd hit it with a truck. And he brought the body to her so she could see. Well, there was no signs of the fight with the hyena. So she really, really believes that her ghost dog came and fought off the hyena and saved her life. I mean, and that's a stretch by any, imagination, but you know what? And if an animal's love is that strong, I can't not believe that that would happen. And I mean, obviously she was very sad that her dog did, but she really believes that her dog came to her rescue, because truly, where she was, if a hyena had gotten to her, she wouldn't have been around for the story. But anyway, so that was one of them. Um, and there's been other examples of that. There was a guy that was talking to a retired police lieutenant, and he said, what was the strangest thing you'd ever had happen to you? And he said, you know what? There was one time there was a dog who ran up to someone outside in the yard, and the dog just kept barking and barking and barking, and the man felt like the dog wanted him to follow him. So he did. He followed him down the road and found a car that had gone off the road and was in a ditch. The driver was unconscious and in pretty bad shape in the front seat of the car. So he ran back to his house and called the police and 911, and they arrived, and they were getting the guy out and realized that the dog that this guy had seen was in the back seat of the car, but he was already dead. So was it the dog in ghost or spirit form that went to get help? Or did the dog come back and just die afterwards? It's hard to know for sure, but me, I'm going to believe that the dog in ghost form went and barked and barked and barked until somebody came back to help his owner. I think that's what animals do because they love us and we love them. And that's my case for what's going on. Now, that's all happy, fun stuff. But we do know that there are the dark side of animal spirits, like demon dogs. In some cultures, they're called hellhounds or black dogs. And what they are is it's from around the world, a wide variety of ominous supernatural dogs, and they occur in mythologies all around the world. Features that have been attributed to like hellhounds or demon dogs is like mangled black fur, glowing red eyes, super strength or speed, or foul odors and things like that. Let's see, in European legends, it states that if someone stares into a hellhound's eyes twice or more, that person will surely die. And in cultures that associate the afterlife with fire, hellhounds may have fire-based abilities. They're supposedly often assigned to guard the entrances to the world of the dead, such as graveyards and burial grounds, um, or other duties related to the afterlife, such as hunting lost souls or guarding supernatural treasure. It's funny, in European legends, seeing a hellhound or hearing it howl may be an omen or even a cause of death. And if anybody watches Supernatural, we know that the hellhound got Dean. Sorry. Um, but I'm going to tell you this. I've seen what I call a demon dog. I didn't call them hellhounds at the time, but when I was of an age, it was a demon dog. I remember my paranormal investigating started when I was really pretty young. So, um, we were at a relative's house that had been having some trouble. And my grandmother was the go to person for, I don't want to use the word exercise, but that's basically what it was, for clearing houses of negativity and ick. Okay? And because it had always been something normal in my house, like I've said before on these things, I thought everybody had ghosts. I didn't know that other people didn't just, And when I hit first grade, yeah, no, then I started figuring out that not everybody knew about ghosts and stuff. But it was okay because it was normal for me. So I don't know. I was probably 9, maybe 11, not much more than that, when we went to this house. And my grandmother was going through the rooms and doing her thing. And, I was there just kind of as backup. Um, Basically, I was the battery, okay? My grandmother held a lot of energy and power. But we know that children, because they are a little bit more in tune, and because I was not told no, that doesn't exist, I was like her Energizer bunny. So, and I know it sounds really bad, but it wasn't. It was not that I was not doing it. I was doing it willingly, because I could, watch and see and kind of keep her back and whatever. Um, but she was chasing this thing through this house. And it was a demon dog. I mean, that's what I saw at my tender age. And it was not happy we were there. So she'd be in one room doing her little thing with her holy water and her whatever. And I'm watching this thing go out of the room she's in and go to another room. So each room that she went into, it would come out. And finally, it got to the point where, because it couldn't go back into the rooms when she was done. So it basically didn't have a whole lot of place else to go except like the kitchen. Okay, so I'm in the dining room. I remember I crawled up at this point and I'm like standing on the kitchen table because this thing just like it doesn't know where to go. It's running around. So my grandmother comes out and she looks at me and she said, "Do you see it?" And I said, "It's over there." So she goes and she does her thing and eventually it stops. But I mean, that was my first experience with the demon dogs. Um, I wasn't, well, stupidly enough, I wasn't really scared of it because I knew it was fine. That my grandmother was taking care of it, and I knew it couldn't hurt me because I just don't know why I knew it couldn't hurt me, but it couldn't. But I wasn't taking any chances, and I'm standing on the table. Um, oh, thank you, Mr. Lady Spice has in the chat room. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, they're found throughout, yeah, most major religions. Yes, they are. But anyway, that was my experience, or my first experience with a demon dog or a hellhound or whatever. And I have honestly not actually physically, manifestly, whatever, seen them much since I was in my, tens and early teens. Because I think that your gifts change, but I feel them. I feel their presence. I kind of get, I get them the corner of the eye thing, the shadow. I don't always actually see the manifestation of them anymore. I guess that's the more proper way for me to put that. But I know when they're around, because but they don't bother me so much. So we're talking about the icky stuff. So we know that those are out there too, but don't confuse those kind of things with um, ghost pets. And I don't even want to call them a ghost animal because they're not really a ghost. They're more kind of a spirit or an entity, but those kind of things do exist also. So I do want you to be cognizant of that. Um, because not all of them, and like I said, even with the regular dog, not all of them are friendly, not all of them are happy, not all of them are you know coming back to check on you. You may be someplace and just have that feeling, and sometimes when it's a spirit guide kind of thing, and then sometimes that it's not, it's something that shouldn't probably be there. um, so you kind of really have to go with your gut. um, Yes, Lady Spice, they do. The spirit guides do come in animal form, and absolutely they do. And you've really got to listen to one of our new hosts, Lady Stars and Fire, because her shows are all about spirit animal related. Spirit guides, the different, and how to recognize that stuff. Her shows are phenomenal. And I believe they're on Thursday nights, but you got to check our YouTube channel out because as these shows air, we go back and we archive them all so you can go back and listen to them at any point. And yes, and she does a wonderful thing on spirit guides. So I really am not going to step on her toes there because she is truly the expert at that. I'm just going to tell you about, the different kinds of ghosts and hauntings. At any rate, we are at our second set of commercial breaks. And I'm hoping I haven't played these yet, so we're going to play this one. All right, so I will be back in just a couple minutes, and then we will finish up. I've got some really interesting um, animal ceramic stories. I know that didn't make any sense to you, but it will. Trust me. See you in a minute.
Since 2014, the Pagan Business Network has been building resources by bringing together pagan-owned and pagan-friendly businesses. With multiple resources available, it doesn't matter if you're an artisan, musician, vendor, author, publishing company, blogger, podcaster, event planner, or any other organization. We have the resources here to help you succeed. Becoming a member is easy and affordable, even for the smallest of budgets. With your membership, you will get Business Spotlight, which is an article written in an interview style, complete with details and photos. Social media sharing through the Pagan Business Network. A blog roll. A membership card for discounts at participating businesses. You'll also get discounts on tickets to all Pagan Business Network events, and so much more. You can check us out at paganbusinessnetwork.com for more information.
Looking for authentic pagan wares? Then check out Onyx Moon Emporium, where they offer an eclectic mix of metaphysical and spiritual related items, handcrafted using old recipes and traditions, where everything is created in small batches by authentic and experienced practitioners. Their promise to customers is authenticity. From witchy items, conjure goods, setting of lights, to a wide selection of magical and conditioned oils. Also handcrafted wooden grimoires and journals, made to order magical candles in all shapes, sizes, and intents. From angel kits to gree-gree, herbs and curios, from naughty to nice and everything in between. Many items are custom made, so they are uniquely yours. Special orders welcome, and if you have an idea for something you're not finding, they're happy to work with you. Need an oil that's not listed? A spell you can't find? Looking for that hard-to-find herb or curio? They probably have it, or they can make it. Visit them at onyxmoonemporium.com or find them on Facebook. Onyx Moon Emporium. From angels to Zen, find everything for your magical life. All right, I'm back for just a second. I found the promo that I wanted to do for Lady Stars and Fire show, so I'm going to play that. And then I'm going to actually get her on a show one night because that'll be fun to talk to her. So here it is. Hang on.
Hey everybody, ever find yourself having a little bit of trouble trying to figure out what it is that your power animals, your spirit guides are telling you while you're having your shamanic journeys? Or maybe you're meditating? Or maybe you're just seeing some weird, odd animals in your life. Either way, maybe I can help you out with that just a little bit. Check in with me each week on Thursdays at 8 p.m. with Getting Familiar. I'm Lady Stars and Fire, and we'll be discussing everything spiritual, animal related. Until now, to then, take care of you. Hugs and kisses in the wind, everybody. Bye.
And there you have that. Okay, so we are back at P3, Pagan's Paranormal Perspective, talking about ghost animals. And we've talked about ghost pets that come back and visit us. And we've talked about some that actually aren't our pests, aren't our pets, that, you may find in places like battlegrounds and that kind of thing. And we've talked about some demon dogs and spirits, stuff like that. I'm sure there's a lot more crazy critters that are entities and demons, and that'll be probably on another show with Lady Kimberly Spice, because we will be doing a lot of Ghost Hunting 101 shows. So Lady Spice will be joining me soon for one of those, because those are going to be fun. So you're going to want to come back for that. Again, check us out on YouTube. So I said about like ceramic animals. Okay, so basically what I mean is I've got a scary, freaky story that freaked me out back in the day. I used to visit my aunt and uncle in Jacksonville all the time. And they had a two-story house. And on the landing between the first and the second floor, they had had to be 2.5, at least 2.5 foot, maybe 3 foot, ceramic pig. And I'm talking like big ceramic pig, not something you could put on a table. I mean, basically it took up the whole corner. It was ginormous. This pig, they got, I don't know if it was Mexico or something like that. They got it on vacation, or maybe they had picked it up at a yard sale. I don't remember for exactly. But all I'm telling you is from the time as long as I can remember, that pig freaked me out. I mean, my cousins lived there. Everybody went up past this pig every day. But it got to the point where the damn thing would chase me. And I mean, granted, the ceramic pig did not come to life and chase me, but it did. You felt it. It was trying to bite me, and everybody, and it took years before I talked to my mom or anybody else about it, because I mean, I knew I was a little weird, but I thought, well, nobody else is complaining about this pig. Why is it just me? And it got to the point where I would like jump the landing. It's like I would crawl up the rail and over so I wouldn't have to walk past it. Or I would get on the step, and I mean, I would haul boogie tail up that stairs just so I didn't have to, stand next to it for so long. I finally talked to my mom about it. I'm like, I don't know, they were talking about something, and I'm like, yeah. And so what's with that pig on the stairs? And they're like, oh, why, is it following you? I'm like, excuse me, wait, what? What did you just say? And nobody told me. They're like, well, we didn't want to scare you in case it didn't bother you. I'm like, that thing's been bothering me for like 5 years. And so we all got a good laugh out of it. But it started getting worse. And then I guess, I don't know if it's part of what I think is sometimes when you recognize something, Lady Spice and I discussed thought forms. When you kind of in your mind acknowledge that something is going on, I think at that point we were too naive to realize that it would be feeding upon that fear. I didn't quite understand all of that based on this, ginormous ceramic pig thing. And I don't think it was ceramic. It was probably like paper mache, or I don't remember, But I mean, it wasn't like, hard ceramic. It was just odd. It was just really weird. But anyway, I really believe that it kind of got stronger from there and started manifesting other negative things in the house. I don't want to say it was a portal, but I think there was one in one of the attic rooms, but that's a whole nother story. Oh, we'll save that for another night. But I really believe that, you know, It did. It brought in negative attitudes. It brought in it started to me it started acting kind of like what I now would call a chaos demon. Um, because it started creating negative things and negative attitudes and negative, fighting and just grousing and stuff like that between people in the house. And being that the whole family was always kind of spiritually aware, we decided it was time to get rid of the pig. So one whatever morning it was, my uncle picks the pig up and takes it outside and puts it out where the trash guys are supposed to come. And it was like the next day was the trash, so it was like over the night thing, whatever. I want to tell you that the stuff that went on in that house that night with that pig outside by the trash would have made a really good Hollywood movie. I mean, it was almost, Amityville meets Poltergeist in that house that night. It was really, really freaky. I don't think anybody got sleep because there was just a lot of, I don't want to say it was a storm, let's put it that way. It was a definite storm happening in that house. And I will tell you that we all determined he better go get that pig and bring it back. So he brought that pig back in, and everything settled down. So that led me to, okay, was it really the pig that was causing the problems? Or was the pig kind of guarding the house from whatever else was trying to get in and just occasionally would, I don't know. I mean, we've never gotten an answer to this day of what happened. I can tell you that when my aunt passed some years later, when my uncle moved, he left the pig. He did not bring the pig out of the house, and he did not bring the pig with him. That's always kind of been the family joke, about that pig. It was not Wilbur, I will tell you this. So, all right. So in essence, tonight we have talked about ghost animals. I'm going to definitely, when I post this, I hope you people will give me some of your favorite stories on ghost animals. Have you run across any? Do you know of anybody that has ghost animals? Have you maybe particularly had a pet come back and visit you? I know I have a number of times. When I don't know, I was younger. We had an old dog that was actually my grandfather's mother's dog, and she lived behind us. And his name was Rocky, and he was some big old hound dog, big old Rocky. Well, we got a little puppy for our house, and I named him Rocket because he looked like a baby Rocky of this other dog. And they had fun together and whatever. But Rocket, being Rocket, took to his name a little too much. He was one of those that would, and it was back before leash laws and all that craziness, but he would rush the door. So if you open the door, he would run out. Well, this particular day, I was playing with the kids across the street, and I had actually grabbed my dog twice and put him back in my house because every time somebody would open the door, he would get out and he was coming to find me. And the third time, he got hit. So Rocket did not survive. And I was devastated, rightly so, because, Rocket gone like a flash. But I had this little pillow, and I guarantee you I probably still have it somewhere. And it had a little pillowcase. It was a little green square pillow, probably, 8 inches by 8 inches. It was no big thing. And Rocket had chewed off the corner of it, so I had a little taste. So, of course, I slept with that pillow and cried for like 2 days and, just missed him terribly. And I tell you that he came back and visited because his thing, the reason he chewed the pillow, because he was still puppy, so he liked to chew on fingers and toes and whatever he could get a hold of, and that's what he would do. He'd get up in the bed in the morning, or my mother would let him in, and he'd get up in the bed, and it's like he would bite my nose. He'd be licking and kissing, whatever, but to wake me up. Occasionally, them little sharp puppy teeth would wake me up more than that. But I tell you, I was laying there one night trying to go to sleep, and I was thinking about Rocket and really upset, and I was kind of angry at the person who had opened the door, and I kind of had to let that go. But I'm laying there trying to sleep. It's dark, and I tell you, I feel this little nibbling on my nose. So, of course, I jump the heck up and turn on the light, and I'm like, what the heck? Um, I really felt the bed move at that point, and went whatever it was, kind of left my room and went out in the hallway. And I followed out there, even though I didn't see it. I'm not saying I saw it. Um, but that little pillow that he used to drag around by that little corner was laying on the floor in the living room. And I don't remember it being there. So that's the best I can tell you as far as my personal experience with ghost pets that came back was little Mr. Rocket came back to visit and let me know he was causing trouble wherever he went. And that made me feel better. And then I got over being angry at the adult that had let my dog out, and I stopped blaming them for him deciding to um, move on as quickly as he did, because he was a doll. At any rate, okay, so I want to thank everybody that came to the chat room tonight. You don't know how much it means to me when people come and talk and play. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this evening interesting. Some of it may be stuff you already knew, or maybe it's been validated. And I am going to sign off a couple of minutes early tonight because my family just got back from fishing with my grandson. It's his birthday tomorrow, and they're getting ready to come in here and make lots of noise. So, this is Onyx Moon saying thank you so much from P3, and I will talk to you soon, folks. Have a wonderful night.